we are, NFL championship weekend. There's no Lamar, there's no Joe Burrow, there's no Patrick Mahomes, and there's no Josh Allen, who's the only one of those four who could have even been here. And there's been sort of this whole rush of media criticism of Lamar's people saying, hey, treat Josh like you treat Lamar. And then there's been this whole rush of people now coming to actually criticize Josh even harsher based on the people who won't criticize him at all.
No, it's definitely not racial. There are some undertones when you talk about how they both came in the league, right? Josh more clean cut, Lamar real, come from a different demographic. So it's an easy storyline to try and say it's not this, or easy conversation to say it's not this. But there are some underlying tones in there, right? That creates a certain bias is sort of what I'm getting at. But it's the same position, but they're held by different standards at the very end of the day. For example, if Lamar runs the ball, it's because he has limitations. If Josh runs the ball, which they both do it well, it's his athleticism.
It happens every single season. At some point when the season is over, there's going to be a Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson conversation. And I understand what Fred is saying, and I get his perspective. Shout out to Pip, by the way, love the show. There is definitely a racial undertone. If we are being honest, right? And I do agree with some of what they said, some things I don't agree with. But when you look in bold, like when it all boils down to it, neither one of these QBs have won a Super Bowl, even reached Super Bowl. But when you peel back the layers, people sometimes feel like, well, Lamar gets unfairly criticized and Josh doesn't. But when you think about it, right, like even this past weekend, Josh received a lot of criticism for how he played, and obviously he did not play good. There were 4 interceptions. 3 to me were on him. The other one wasn't. The fact of the matter is that they still lost the game, right? They lost by 3 points. To me, there were a few reasons why the Bills lost, not just solely Josh Allen, okay? James Cook, that fumble, 7 points on the board, okay? Even once they caught up and they had the lead with 2 minutes left, this was, I believe, 27-24. So sorry, 27-23. Right? That was the score, 4-point difference with about 2 minutes and some change left. And then you need the defense to get one final stop. 3rd and 11 and about 2:35 to 38 left. You just need to get one stop. Obviously, Bills get the ball back, and more than likely they run the clock out, maybe kick a field goal, and then they go on to now play the Patriots in the AFC Championship, or maybe the Texans, depending on, what would have happened. But for me, I'm not going to put that solely on Josh. Stephen A. also said it. And everybody was mad at Stephen A. Like, oh my God, you're tap dancing again and so on and so forth. That's real. Again, even with Lamar, you go back to last year, right? Now, Lamar, he did fumble, but so did Derrick Henry. Mark Andrews, he drops a 2-point conversion. Again, there were quite a few things that happened in that game. It wasn't solely on Lamar. Now, Lamar got them back in position to win the game when Mark Andrews drops a 2-point conversion. But even if he did catch it, then the game becomes tied, and then the Bills get the ball back. There was plenty of time before the clock, and then the Bills got to go ahead and score. And who's to say the Bills did or didn't score, right? So we can always go back and forth. And there's the whole MVP conversation, right? Last season. Well, Lamar, he did things that no QB's ever done, but then Josh, has the lesser roster, and you go back and forth about that. They both, in my opinion, deserve the award. If I had a vote, for me, it would have gone to Josh. Why? Because it's not who has the best stats. It's the most valuable player. And yes, they are both valuable to their franchises, but when you look at the rosters, and if we're being completely honest, unbiased, no personal feelings, Lamar's roster last year, even this year, he has a better roster than Josh Allen. Okay, it's okay to say it. Like, his roster is not the same. And I think everybody gets confused because of how the players look playing with Josh. When you think about Gabe, right? How did Gabe look when he played with Josh Allen, right? And then he leaves and goes to Jacksonville. Whole different player, right? So much so, he came back to Buffalo this past season. So let's not be fooled here. And it's no knock on Lamar. Honestly speaking, I think Josh has peaked. I think Lamar Jackson has not hit his peak. I think there are still new levels that he has yet to reach that we will see at some point in his career. So there's no shade at all. I'm a fan of them both. But the reality of it is that there are differences there. There are a lot of similarities. And for some reason, it's like we like to pick and choose and we'll know, if you say something good about Josh and you're black, it's like, well, you're tap dancing because he's white and, all these different things. And if you say something about Lamar, then you're hating on Josh. It's like, how come we can't just say they are both extremely talented, both, we want them both to reach Super Bowl and ultimately win because they're that freaking good. And honestly speaking, the playoffs aren't even as exciting without Patrick Mahomes, without Joe Burrow, without Lamar or Josh. I had to jump to the Seahawks side. I had to become a Seahawks fan and jump on that bandwagon because nobody else that I'm really care to watch right now, respectfully. You know what I mean? So I'm like, go ahead, Sam. Let's go, Sam. Let's win this thing, okay? And if Sam wins it, mind you, he will be the first one out of that whole draft class to win the Super Bowl. Let that sink in.